Greetings viewers, EricTheCarGuy here. Thank you so much for tuning in today, and you're gonna like this one because I'm probably gonna get tortured a bit. I started doing a video about the rear bumper replacement on this 2003 Honda Pilot. It was pretty corroded, but during the process of that I was inspecting the rest of the vehicle and I found something, well, actually, let's go look at it. Let me show you. This is what I'm dealing with back here. You see that corrosion right there? That would normally be a car killer because I don't think many people would go through the trouble that I'm about to go through in order to repair something like this. Although I did come to find out that this was a common problem on Honda Pilots, and I have seen people repair this in similar ways. Now, you can see that that's actually a part of the body, and this assembly holds the rear suspension and the rear differential and everything all together. So this is critically important, and this mounting point is only one of 4. So this is 1/4 of what's holding the rear suspension to the vehicle, and it's not doing a very good job, and not for very much longer by the looks of it. You can purchase this piece here. Well, sort of. Honda no longer makes it, but I did find 2 of them. One was $800, one was $1,200. So if you want to spend that money, you can go in, you can drill out all these plug welds and replace just this piece here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rebuild this and make my own mount back here. I have a plasma cutter and a welder and some steel, and that's how I'm gonna fix it in the end. Hang with me while I remove all of this and fix this. As I mentioned, I'm gonna have to remove all the suspension and everything back here. I'm gonna drain the differential, I'm gonna disconnect it from the drive shaft, and we're pretty much gonna take all of this out and start over. I was already gonna do some suspension work. You can probably see a leaking seal here on the differential that I plan to repair. I was gonna replace the rear shocks, and these rear control arms, the bolts that attach them to the body here are for the alignment. These are cam bolts, so they're on an eccentric. Very similar to the Odysseys that I've done in the past. Anyway, the bolts will seize up inside of that bushing, and therefore you won't be able to make any of these adjustments. So in order to fix that, I have new lower control arms, new bolt assemblies and nuts and everything to go into both sides. I also, you can probably see, I need to drop the exhaust. Well, normally there would be a flange here at the back of the catalytic converter that I could just unbolt from. That is not possible. See, it's all welded together now into this single piece. So I'm going to be making some exhaust modifications as well, starting with cutting here at the catalytic converter and dropping the rest of the exhaust down. I suppose we'll need to get these out of the way. Now, as I mentioned, I'm cutting this off because, well, there's no flange here that I can unbolt it from. I'm actually thinking I'm going to get an aftermarket catalytic converter, because this is an original equipment one, and install it to help deter catalytic converter thefts, because they don't like the aftermarket ones nearly as much as the original equipment ones, and I'm not sure if I can cage this thing in. Anyway, I'm going to remake the exhaust when the time comes. For now, this one's out of here. Hey look, I'm a catalytic converter thief. Little WD-40 on the rubber hangers helps them come off nice. Really feels like things have opened up already, but I'm wondering if I tempt fate and try to remove this shield, because that will give me even more room to work. Oh, that is awesome. And that worked. That does open things up quite a bit, and I'll probably need every bit of this space. The rear ABS sensors are plugged in up here, and they're also bolted here. And then while I'm working on this, I'm also going to drain the differential. You can sort of get up behind here with this little hole. There are 2 points back here that open up in the differential. The top one's the fill, the bottom one is the drain. They both just use a 3/8 drive. And just like the notice says, be sure to only use VTM4 fluid in this differential. Gonna also loosen up the top, that way it'll make it easier later. At the sound of the tone, the time is now 3 o'clock. Honestly, that fluid doesn't look old. Believe it or not, WD-40 helps a lot with plastic clips too. See what I mean? So there's just a little tab that I pushed up on, and I was able to slide it off the mount up there. Yes! Oh, that's awesome. Now, because there will be a lot of fasteners in all of this, I'm just gonna loosely thread that there so I know where it goes. Actually, I'll probably replace these fasteners, but we'll see. This is kind of a winter car slash fun car, so we'll see how much love I put into it. I have another thought though. All right, and that's why this is gonna take a minute. You might ask why I'm going through all this trouble. In my view, drilling and tapping takes longer. I believe I mentioned that I was gonna replace this oil seal. Now that everything is together, that is the best time to clean everything up. So I'm gonna do that now, clean everything off. I'm also gonna see if I can knock that fastener loose. The more I can do while things are up in the air like this, where it's mounted solid, the better, I believe. Might as well also seal this up and get the drain pan out of the way. Now this I will tighten back up because I won't need to remove it again. While the brake clean is soaking in, I'm going to take care of two more electrical connections that I don't want to forget about, and that's this one and this one. Both of those connectors go to the differential. It's an electronically controlled differential. You definitely want to disconnect this stuff before you drop this down. Now there are two other clips that the harness is attached to this center section with that also need to be undone. They may be a little tricky, and well, let's just say they may not survive, just because I can't quite get into release them quote unquote properly. Somehow that worked perfect, so that one's loose. In keeping with trying to loosen things up before I drop it down, these fasteners here, these three, hold the back part of the differential in place. They're 19 millimeter. Just want to break them loose. Oh, that was nice. Really cool. Okay. I'm liking where this is going. At least that part of it anyway. Looks like 14. Whoa. Well, that just broke off. I suppose I should have disconnected the drive shaft first, but now the fasteners are easy to get to. These are also 14. This hasn't got too far to fall once it comes loose because there's a drive shaft loop. And just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna mark the flange and the drive shaft so that I get it back in the same location when I put it back together. So I'll just put like a little dot here and also one here. And then I'll do something with my marker, but these will be a little more permanent. Sometimes marker gets washed off when I clean things, although this paint marker might work really well. I had an idea. I don't know if the idea will work, but I might just keep it together as long as we need it to. As long as I don't hit my head on this, I think I'll be fine. I just found something else I need to buy. That's a parking brake cable. Somehow this got flipped around. It should be down like this, but because it got flipped around, it rubbed through right here. And it wasn't very kind to the bushing either, all because it was just flipped up. And this is the hard one, this is the long one, because these go all the way up here. At least without the exhaust in the way, it's a little bit better, but that means I gotta go up into here and deal with all these other crusty fasteners to get this taken care of. Oh joy. Now the plan is to go around. I'm replacing these lower control arms here. These bushings are kind of whacked out. So I'm gonna go around and loosen as much of this stuff as I can so that I don't have to do it on the ground. At this point, I've gone through and loosened all the fasteners, with the exception of the ones that go to these stabilizer links. I'll deal with those in a minute. I've also removed the axle nuts and made sure that those move in and out. Now, originally I was thinking that I could leave the brake line and everything intact and just drop it down. Well, that's not going to be the case, and the reason is it passes through and under right here. So I would have to disconnect this. It seems just as easy just to disconnect the brake line up here and drop it down. A little trick that a viewer suggested is to jam the brake pedal all the way to the floor once you've got one of these loose, so the brake fluid can come out and it won't leak anything else out while you're working on the rest of the stuff. I'm not too worried about getting this one loose because I almost feel that it's going to pull right out of this. This mount over here, this one is loose and that one will come out. I didn't get these. I need to get those real quick. But I got the lower ones and everything loose. I also went and got these loose. Pretty much everything is ready to come out. Like I said, I just need to come back and do this front lower control arm. Now, before I take this parking brake assembly apart to get to the cable, I'm going to take a picture of it. That way I know where everything goes. And it's just a little tip for you that you can also use to help you remember where things go. Simplest way I know of to take care of the spring is or the cable, so maybe take a pair of vice grips like this, maybe a better pair of vice grips, I don't know. Anyway, just move the cable back a bit, then you can crimp it down and then pull that right out of there. Now comes the fun part. Putting these cables in is no sweat. Getting them out, well, that's a different story. Always the penetrating oil. There's a little clip that holds it in. I've heard people use zip ties to do this. That could definitely work. So it was a combo move between the screwdriver and the zip tie. Zip tie trick for the win. Since I had it lowered, I just disconnected the battery because we're going to need to do that before we start welding anyway. I have a line wrench here that I'm going to use on this brake line. Hopefully it won't give me issues. There it is. Be patient. You wreck this, you wreck your day. You don't want to have to replace this brake line. I already have a drip pan underneath here. Now let's put that brake pedal on the floor. I'm gonna use this guy. Once you've gotten this far, remove the clip and the brake line will come down. As long as we're in the neighborhood, I'm gonna undo this upper shock mount. Yep, you guessed it. I'm doing the same thing over here. Years of practice to get that feel. Because you can sort of feel when things are about to break after you've broken enough things, unfortunately. I've broken a lot of things. I guess that's how I learned to fix things, by breaking them. Given that so far this through bolt back here for the subframe is my problem child, I'm going to leave this shock connected. That way this side's still supported, at least by the shock if nothing else, or damper if you want to call it that. I'm going to see if I can take care of my problem child first. I've got my support over here, which well, hopefully will hold things in place until I get my transmission jack over here. One of two things is going to happen. This is going to break, or it's going to come out in a very difficult way. And you are exactly where I want to be, so we're going to switch. I have my transmission jack in place to support everything. I believe we have pretty much everything disconnected. It's just a matter of removing 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 fasteners. These up here for these control arms, and the 4 that are holding us the rear subframe ends. I also went ahead and removed the front wheels. I did that to take a little bit of weight off the front. I've got it balanced on the lift, but I just am concerned because I'm removing a great deal of weight from the back here, which could make it front heavy and want to fall off the lift. So I have to be mindful of that. Anyway, let's see if we can deal with this guy. Well, you're gonna have to move farther away. Let's give the old pneumatic a try. Yeah, it's just laughing at it. I wonder if I can get some heat up in through that hole. You saw it. That was a hard fight. But it's out. If you're curious, I put the heat through that little hole right there. Did the trick. Let's do the shock mount over here. Front control arm mounts, and these are 19. I already knocked these loose, by the way. I'm gonna be real mindful of what's happening with that sub-assembly as I loosen this. Actually, before I do this, I'm gonna do this other front subframe mount. Isn't it nice when they come out like they're supposed to? And now these. These really want to pull inward. Now it's the money shot. I know that one comes out. I'm gonna try this one first, which I haven't even tried, but I did shoot a little penetrating oil up into here. All right. Last one, and it should be ours. Yes, the coil springs are under tension, but rear springs aren't under that much tension. I think the tension's off the coil springs. Looks like we're all disconnected as far as all that stuff goes. Springs are loose, brake lines, or go for launch, or whatever the opposite of launching is. Cool. And now I can see the real damage. It's sufficient for sure. That's it. That's out of there. My plan is to use this subframe as my template for this repair. Now, in order to do it the way I want to do it, all this heavy stuff like control arms and brakes and everything kind of needs to come off. I'm replacing a lot of it anyway, but I really just want to strip it down to just this subframe so that I can do what I'm hoping to do as far as lining things up here on the body. I suppose we also don't need to work under the vehicle anymore. So let's move this out of here. Come on. As I start removing weight, it's going to get a little topsy-turvy. Hopefully that does the trick. These are easy. Yeah, with how loose that is, I'm not sad about replacing these at all. Oh yeah, these are definitely loose. Those flop down like that because I've already loosened all the mounts before I ever took it out of the vehicle. Well, that one came apart. I was debating on taking the stabilizer bar off. I think I've decided if I can get these off, I'll do it. Worth it. This right side's not so bad. Now, I want to lift this entire subframe off of the differential. The differential is held down by my clamp up front, but also by these 3 fasteners in the rear. And that's all that's holding it. However, there is the vent tube that comes out the top here and attaches to the subframe here and here. I'm going to try and detach this at the subframe because I'm going to try to recondition it a little bit. Got my trusty seatbelt in place, and I'm just going to use my engine hoist to lift this off of here. And yes, this is the Element seatbelt. I don't feel like that guy wants to give up. So it stays. I think I spent enough time on it. I admit I don't love it because when I go to put this thing back on here, it's going to be fun, to say the least, because I can't get the legs in far enough. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick the whole thing up, drop it down, then I'll take this out, drop the differential on the floor. If I took it off now, as this comes off, it could bring this with it and drop it to the floor. And that's $2 grand. That's money I don't need to spend right now. So we'll just do this. Let's get the differential out of here. These are 19s. Like I said, I loosened everything first. I think I'll put this on the bench. All right, I got it flipped over, which is what I wanted. 2 reasons. I want to remove this broken bolt that was holding the front of the differential in place. I've ordered a new one. And I also want to deal with these lower control arms. But first, let's see what we can do about this guy here. Scream all you want. You're coming out. Told you were coming out. Just to be funny, I guess. I'm pretty sure that these are part of the bushing now, but what the heck? Might as well save myself some effort and at least try to get these out, but I'm totally prepared if they don't. But I've got to tell you, doing this on the ground seems, to me at least, easier than doing it above your head. Oh, this is just the outer nut. Don't get excited. That's a no-go. Nope. Fresh pack of blades. I'm gonna try this for the first time on the ground. So far, I like it better just because of the angle. Oh no, my socket broke. Darn it. Yeah, it's got a crack right there. Okay, that's one side. Sorry about that. That took 7.5 blades. I have 6, 7, 8, 9. We should be good. We finally have a naked subframe, which is kind of what I wanted. Now we can start working on the body. Well, viewers, this is the conclusion of part 1 of the 2-part series of the complete rebuild of the rear suspension on this 2003 Honda Pilot. I'll put a link to part 2 right at the top of the description as soon as it becomes available. But if you're not a patient person and you want to see the entire video now, it's available to premium members over at my website. I will put a link to that down in the description as well. I will also put links in the description to parts, tools, additional information, additional videos, including that one that I did about repairing the structure in order to even complete doing the suspension work. So what I had to do to all that rust, that's covered in another video, again linked in the description. Also a link to EricTheCarGuy.com if you have automotive questions not covered in this video. In other words, check the description for additional information, tons and tons of additional information. Thank you so much for watching today. I look forward to seeing you back next week, and if it's past next week, once again, that link will be right there in the description to part 2. Be safe, have fun, stay dirty. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.